Welcome out to another episode of the Exit Interview Podcast. I'm Jerome Wetzel, creator-writer, and I am here with Joe Morales, who played, past tense, Alexis Augustus Armentrout.
Hello.
Hi, Joe.
Hi.
I'm sorry. Let's just start with an apology.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. Just killing characters left and right now. It's fine.
I mean, we didn't kill most of the Daniel Kravitz cast, just you and Abby.
Yeah, just us. Okay. I know. You know what? In fairness, I know I have had a couple characters throughout all of the segments that have died.
Sure.
But this is the first, major character I've
Really
had died.
major.
So I'm like...
Well, I would argue your Charles with Tim character was a pretty big character.
Oh, that too. Yeah, don't remind me.
But that was a one-season character. This was the three-season character.
That's true, yeah.
So a little bit different.
It was a little bit different. But I still have mixed feelings about it, but I know you'll probably get all into it.
Well, let's talk about your mixed feelings.
The mixed feelings only in the sense of Alexis, I feel like progressed so much because starting when he was introduced in season 2, it was just, he's just by the book, he doesn't really, it's almost like he didn't like anybody. He's just like, no, I'm here to do my job.
Yep.
This is my job. You're the chosen one, blah, blah, blah. You have to follow the rules. And then it just progressed into this character that had some sort of, mission of just, saving people.
Yep.
And just really, really caring about, helping those that are unable to be helped. And so it was just like, oh, it's so nice. I'm like, I get to play this cool, badass person who's like, I'm just here to help the people that are less fortunate, and then dead. But it also, the good thing, it just made sense. It did make sense.
The emotional arc, I think, of Alexis is very satisfying. Even if it stinks a lot because the final season's only 8 episodes. And it's like, you got so close to the end, man.
It'd be nice to see an ending where it's like, I'm here through it. And it's like, nope.
But I would argue that a lot of Alexis's impact, especially in that final season, as you said, it was saving others, it was serving others. And I would argue that he will have lasting effects throughout the final season, even if he's not there.
I am curious to see, with his wife and daughter, just that's what I want. I want to see the aftermath of that, so I can just sit on the sidelines and be super sad.
We are going to see them in the final season.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, I know. It's it was. I strongly considered, and I think you and I talked about this. I don't know if I told you I made a decision. I strongly considered doing one scene in the final season where we see him in the after and going in, crossing over to whatever's after.
Oh no, you didn't tell me that.
Oh, okay. So I strongly considered it. And I even knew where in the season it was going to go. And then the more I thought about it, the more I just felt it didn't fit in the season.
But also just the way that Alexis died, because I at least remember this, that it was just going to be, he was just going to be dead and that was it.
Yeah.
And then there was the talk of just that moment before pretty much he's dead, but it's just his last seeing into the light with his daughter. That wasn't initially planned, I don't think.
No,
was it?
I think that was Kristin's suggestion.
And I loved that scene.
It was so
I was
good.
like, that was fun to do.
When she came up with the idea, I think she asked immediately if she could write it. And I was like, absolutely.
I'm Kristin Green. I'm sitting here with Joe Morales. We're doing a little bit of just a one-on-one for his Alexis exit interview. Hi, Joe.
Hello.
Hi. Specifically, he and I are going to talk about the opening scene of his last episode of Daniel Kravitz. I listened to your exit interview with Jimmy, and it was so good. You guys had such a good conversation, but I just specifically wanted to talk about that last scene. So I had written that scene because I felt like we needed to see something more from Alexis before we just smashed him against a rock.
just against a rock and just dead.
Yeah. So tell me, when you first read that scene, what did you think? Did you know when you read it that you were dying and that it was a fake out?
I mainly knew just because Jim spoiled that for me anyway, warned me ahead of time,
What?
hey, I'm going to die. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jim spoils a lot of that for us.
Oh.
But I just loved that scene in general because as I was reading it, I was like, oh, this is a beautiful, sort of somber way to go out, but it was just very emotional because it was all about, just being with Amara. And I'm like,
But then we realize it's not real.
And it's not real, but it's if that's his last vision, because overall, he was all about just protecting,
the family.
The family, but I was like, obviously, just for the betterment of just living kind, but also, you know, a lot of it was about his family. So it's like that just made sense.
Yeah, and with his child being half monster too. Yeah, the stakes were really high for him.
Yeah.
So you got to do that scene with a guest actress. I'm blanking on her last name, but Jillian.
Yes.
How was that for you?
So much fun.
She's incredible.
Just because it was like, because especially when anybody comes in, you never know like how they're gonna play it. So it's like, okay, I have to sort of you know play a little bit off of them to see how they do it. And I was like, oh, this is exactly what I thought. And I'm like, and it just it was wonderful.
That's a good point, because it's very layered. It's a guest star, so it's someone you haven't worked with, but they're playing your daughter, so you have to have somewhat of a bond. And also, it's a child actor, and you're never quite sure what their experience is, how comfortable they're going to be.
And you want to make sure they're comfortable and just, you know. But, yeah, she was fantastic.
Yeah, you two played off of each other so well.
I was like, I like this a lot. Because I was like, you know, I do a lot of goofy things. So I was like getting to like be serious. I was like, oh, this is very nice.
I did like that we had a moment where we did get to see Alexis as a dad.
Yeah, because we haven't really, I think, if I remember back, I think there was just like a phone call.
I think you and your wife had a phone call.
Yeah, and I was like, there wasn't really too much familial interactions that we got to see. So it was like very nice that this was kind of like his own vision of really like this is just how my life always was as a dad.
What do you think, why of all the visions he could have had before he died, why do you think he had that one?
I think it is because deep down this was all just for, you know, her having a better life.
Yeah.
And I think that's just sort of what he always envisioned. So it's like, I think that was just always sort of in his mind, no matter what, just having a better life for her.
Yeah.
And I think it was just now after he was dead, he was like, well, now really I just have to think of what's good. What was the good that was going to come out of this if we succeeded? And
so one other thing I was thinking about is it's always interesting to me when you are playing a character who isn't in reality and you get to watch them sort of realize that the scene isn't real or that there's something off, like a shattered.
Yes. Yeah.
Like the walls start coming down and the reality just shatters for someone. Just touch on that a little bit if you can. Like realizing in the moment of playing it, like, oh, I'm dying, this isn't real, and just having to go through that switch.
Yeah, I think it's difficult in a way because you do have to, one, because we are doing it in front of an audience too, so you kind of have to like also let them kind of know without directly saying it, because it also wasn't directly in, so it's all then about kind of the facial expressions and even just a little bit of the vocal inflections of like that realization without directly saying it. So it was, I don't even remember what line it was specifically where I was like, okay, this is where I can start to sort of shift a little bit to like, and I think there was a lot of like, he was, if I remember, he was like looking out and he was kind of like the bright light just kind of kept coming to him. So it was
he had a
like,
headache. He kept
saying
saying his head hurt.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was like, that was sort of like, you know, at first it's like, oh yeah, just a headache. And then it was kind of like, as she was just kind of continuing to walk off and like he couldn't really focus, it's kind of like, that's a shift of like, this is my end. This is not actually happening. Holy crap. This is my last sort of vision of life. Like, instead of going down that rabbit hole of like, you know, you see your whole life flash before your eyes, really his daughter was his whole life.
Yeah.
In a way.
We got so many, I think other than any of the musical episodes, that the whole episode, but specifically that scene in the beginning, you definitely had people convinced, because people were like, oh, I thought it was, 6 months in the future, and oh, I guess Alexis survived the head wound, like, whew, and they were just devastated.
Good. Yeah, because it is, I like tricking people. Yeah. That's fun. It's like, haha.
No, I got many, I don't know if people said it to you, but a lot of people said that was just gut-wrenching. So job well done.
Thank you, yes.
And just to point out for everyone, because for me, this was part of my favorite part of writing that scene and watching you guys do it. So back during the Daniel Kravitz full-length musical a couple of years ago, your solo song was called A Brand New Way, and that was the last line of your song. That was sort of the chorus part. And I think it's so bittersweet that we left Alexis having a vision of his daughter finding the new way and him sort of stopping and having to watch her go off into this.
And he can't join her.
Yeah.
It really, because the writing was just wonderful.
Oh,
yes. No, it was. I was like, oh, because I guess I was surprised, like, oh, that's my scene I'm going out on. And I was like, ooh, this is so beautiful. It's like, you know, because then you try, you know, to even invoke any of that emotion, because, you know, when we play these characters for so long, you know, you get attached, and it's okay, like, it's just a beautiful moment for him to go out. But then you try and relate it at least to yourself, too. Like, what would be something I would want to see, too? So then I'm like, oh, I'm thinking of, like, my nieces and nephews, and, like, they're going off, or my dog, if, you know,
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, now I'm sad. But I'm like, it's bittersweet.
Yeah. You want to know you're passing something on and that you've left something behind that's worthwhile. Oh, that's all I really had. We're going to listen to you and Jimmy talk now, but thank you so much, Joe.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, thank you for performing so beautifully.
And thank you for writing this. It was so wonderful.
Oh, well, you're welcome, and thank you.
Thank you. Yay!
She knocked out.
It was just.
So did you, and so we got a wonderful actress, Gillian Anthony.
She was fantastic. Yeah.
I know. If we'd gotten her like 3 seasons earlier, we probably would have had your daughter.
Had more, yeah. Because was there someone before? Who was it before?
We saw your wife before, or heard your wife.
Now I remember, because it was like a phone call. I think that's what
we might have heard. Sophie in the background of a phone call or something. And
that's what it was.
Daughter.
I think it was, yeah. It was Zoe.
It was probably Zoe, yeah. The fact that he did not give up on Abby when everybody else did, and he went back convinced he could have a final conversation and talk her into it, just so not even crossing his mind that she would actually go through with her threats and lock him up and everything.
And it's kind of the sentiment to him of that he just still was seeing the good. Like, he's like, that exists. It's somewhere exists. And everybody's like, no, she's far gone. It's like, no, we know her. It's there. Yeah. I might not have known her as long as everybody else, but Alexis saw that something still, but...
Well, you two connected a bit early on. Like, there was something between Alexis and Abby. Not that you were getting along, but that there was just something between you two that seemed like a connection.
And I forget what it was.
Me too.
I'm always, for listeners, I'm always nervous to do these, because some of it, I do these, we perform these, and I kind of forget everything almost afterwards until we do these, and I'm remembering things, but I'm also like, I'm going to say something wrong, because I'm going to be like, that's not correct information. I'm making this up.
If Nick was here, I'd bring him in, because he, I think, identified that because he worked a lot on Volume 3, if you remember.
Okay, yes.
And there was an episode called Punch, which there are elements, one major element of that he still hasn't forgiven me for changing. But the stuff with Abby and Alexis in that episode, I think, was a linchpin to what their relationship was for the series. And that was all him. And he was like, there was this connection in season 2. I want to build upon this. I want them to... As she starts to go dark, she thinks he's the one that she can talk to. But you're on opposite trajectories, because she's going dark and he's going light.
Yes.
And that's the moment where you just cross each other, where you're just a little bit lighter and she's just a little bit darker before things really start to go downhill.
Yeah.
And so it was a really good scene. It really helped shape the arcs of both of your characters and your characters together.
It'd be nice if I fully remembered all of it.
Oh, I remember that episode.
I need to read the books again, at least the script books, which you can buy on Amazon.
The first 3 volumes. We haven't released the 4th one yet. We really should, because we're into the 5th one performing.
Okay, I don't know. Because the stack of them that I have is in my office, so I'm always like, which ones do I not have yet?
Well, we haven't released the 4th one
That's
yet.
right. Well, buy those so you can read and remember things while you're listening to the podcast as well.
Well, part of the slowdown is Daniel Kravitz volumes 3 and 4 are just so much bigger than your typical volume.
Yeah, I feel like they last, at least in the duration of when we were recording it, I feel like it was way longer.
Well, I think the first 2 seasons were 13 episodes, which I thought was a good standard for this.
Yeah.
Nick took the 3rd one into 18 episodes.
Yeah.
And then we did the fourth one was 16 episodes, counting a full-length musical, which really, if you count that as 4, because you
Yeah,
could,
that
then
you could easily.
that's 19. So they're both massive seasons, and then we're ending with an 8-episode season.
That's a good way to end. To me, that's a good way to just wrap anything up, though, too, just in that length.
The decision, what made the decision of that is Volume 1 and 2 were a certain part of the world. Volume 3 really expanded that world. And then Volume 4 expanded it some while also contracting it some, because we got rid of a lot of the students, but we saw some different elements. And then Volume 5 is just very focused on our core people.
Yeah.
So you expand and then contract. Yeah, I've been really happy with this volume. What has been your favorite thing about playing Alexis?
I think really the emotional arc. It really is just the change, because starting out as Alexis, really it's not who I don't relate to this character. I think with any role you play, you have to find yourself into it, so that way it really projects and really plays well with other people. But for this one, I was like, I don't really know. I was like, I just like a British accent. Like I'm like, that's as much of this that I can do. And then as time went on, it's like, oh, okay, I'm starting to see, like, it's just he's finding his footing. He's figuring out, he always had a purpose, essentially, and it was just very, like, straight line, like, this is the purpose of it, but then he starts to see the wrong in things and kind of goes on a more loving path, I guess, and I don't know, and I liked that. I like just the growth of that, I think, is really always fun to
Well, he
play.
always had a moral code. He
Yes,
backed up Rufus when other people didn't because of his daughter. Well, we don't know what his mindset was before he met Amara and fathered Sophie. But we know he loves his family very much, and he kept them hidden. But he was also kind of trying to work and fix the system for them from the inside.
It was just no one. He couldn't kind of let that out because that's kind of the agenda.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of what drove what looked like hard and single-minded was this purpose of I'm working for a cause. You guys don't matter to me because you're not my cause. But over time,
you can't let the audience know that, and then
right.
But it just kind of made sense in the end, and it's like, yeah, so then it made sense at first when I'm like, I don't know where this is going, I don't know how I feel about this. And
do you remember how you got the role?
Didn't I audition for Rufus?
You did.
Okay,
which was like one of the first months of the show, because that was show 2 that we premiered. Daniel Kravitz and Ed Rufus.
Oh, that's right.
So that was one of the first auditions you did for the show. And
was it? Wait.
Yeah.
So
not the first, because you auditioned.
Oh,
for
like
University.
after
it would have been in the first audition packet after the initial.
Okay, that was like, wait, I'm like, that was because I know that first, the very first, before anything, I think I auditioned for a lot of things. I don't remember all of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do remember. I remember I auditioned for Rufus. I was like, oh, okay. Just because I love a British accent doesn't mean I do it well, but I love it.
I thought you did it pretty good over the years.
Well, yeah, because I think you said something to me right after you sent the cast list. I think you emailed me and was like, hey, like, I have an idea for you with this particular segment, and it'll eventually come into play later on, but it's going to be a little while.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And at that point, I was just like, I'm here for anything. I really don't care.
Well, so I got 3 auditions for Rufus that I was interested in using, and Shane's the one I went with. But you auditioned for Rufus as well, and so did Amanda. I did, because we were very specific that these don't need to be in our auditions. Characters are generally not gender specific. Mm-hmm. Like I can write based on the performer I want, and I said I want to use all 3. But Shane's is the one that most matches what I envisioned for Rufus.
Right.
Yours sounded younger. Shane sounded older. And I'm like, it would be good to bring a younger foil for him, because we're loosely basing it on Buffy. And I was thinking Wesley Wyndham-Pryce, played by Alexis Stanisoff. Hence the name Alexis. Although we gave him the 3 names to match Rufus's stuffy British. And then, of course, I made Amanda his niece. But all the 3 characters, Regina and Alexis, were based on Rufus auditions. So
that I didn't know.
And she came in like episode 5-ish, because that's what it took
was part of that arc.
That arc going. And I think I told you, like, it'll be like episode 6 or 7. No, it'll be like episode 8 or 9. No, it'll be the end of the season. Then it was like, it's going to be season 2.
It's going to be season 2, yeah.
But just the way the arcs were shaping up, it just felt too soon to bring in your part.
Right.
And then when we set Rufus off and we needed a new mentor, perfect opportunity after we had
step in.
the fallout with his niece, like, what's it take to knock him out of the game so you can come in?
And it's always, I think, with any show that goes beyond one season, season 2 always has an introduction to a new character that it's like, it kind of falls into that where you don't know what you think of them. They're kind of just jumping into the mold. And yeah, that was sort of Alexis at that time.
Yeah. So, we don't always add a new character for season 2, but I think that was the right energy we needed for the changing story.
Yeah.
The time we
Oh, yeah. I meant it seems like in television shows as a whole, it's a trope. Yeah.
It's a trope for sure.
Yeah.
Although I think Wes Lewin and Price did not show up till season 3, if I remember correctly.
Oh, yeah.
But,
well, you know more. My cousin loves Buffy, and she knows I've not watched it yet. It's been on my list for so long.
Oh, man.
I just haven't. Oh, yeah. No, there's...
I mean, the story doesn't end up resembling Daniel Kravitz much at all, so you're not going to be spoiled for anything.
No, that's what I'm like. I'm fine with that.
But the character, he showed up as a nerdy, bookish guy who ended up being a total badass, became this demon hunter wearing a leather jacket and driving a motorcycle later on. You didn't get to have that.
No, I didn't get to have that.
Now you're going to be jealous.
Yeah, like, come on now. But yeah, and I remember when starting to play Alexis, because he always cowered from fights, and I was like, I do remember, I was like, oh, he's no fun. Like that. I guess if I could relate anything, I'm like, no, that'd be me. I don't like fights. I would cower away from it. But then it all made sense in the long run why he was the way he was. And
he never really became a warrior, but he was willing to stand up for what he believed.
Yes,
in. And he was willing to put himself in front.
A different kind of warrior.
I mean, when the season 4 premiere, volume 4, because they're volumes, not seasons. With
I still say seasons.
I know it's the only. Well, that and It's All Been Theater, the only 2 segments we've by volumes instead of seasons. I thought, because I think of Kravitz like comic book arcs. That's why we're doing the volume. But anyway, not that it matters. They are seasons.
Yeah.
But yeah, the volume 4 premiere, the musical, where he stood in front of the army and was like, you can kill all the monsters, but you got to kill me first. And whether he fought or not, I think that was pretty brave and badass.
Yeah, he doesn't need violence himself.
Yeah.
He doesn't commit the acts himself. He just will stand in front.
Yeah. I do regret, I feel like we didn't get to see him interact with the monster community as much as I'd hoped in Volume 4. We never really broke that out as much. There was just so much going on to try to wind things down. Mm-hmm. But, oh well. Who was your favorite character to interact with while you were Alexis?
Oh. I don't know. I think it varied, but it was always easy, I think, to play off of Rufus just because it kind of we were both sort of in that same world. Yeah. And it was just like it seemed like most of our interactions were just very like analytical to the storyline of just like, this is this, this is this, this is this. Wait, what about this? Oh yeah, there's this. And so if any of that made sense. But yeah, I think that was just very easy and fun to play off of. Not like that it was like, oh, we got to be comical or we got to be very, very, like we were more serious, but it was just like explaining the world a little bit more. And just, I kind of liked that because it helped drive and make everything sort of make sense.
Yeah.
If that made sense.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
I think it's nice that your character did get to build a relationship with each of the other main characters.
Yeah.
Like you did have your scenes with Daniel, you had your scenes with Abby, especially in that last season, you had your scenes with Grezit where you're sharing a cell.
Yeah.
And got to bond.
Oh, God. Oh yeah, because I forgot. We can talk about that. Yeah. I'm still figuring out what we're allowed. Yeah, we're allowed to talk about it, but yeah, I'm dead. It doesn't matter anymore.
That's why we're talking about it.
Yeah, because I feel like there was always those moments where he got to have with each of the main characters. Because, yeah, especially with Daniel, because Daniel didn't like him for the longest time and still called him Alex. Mm-hmm. Never stopped. Like, I think at only one point, because even Nathan outside of it would just say Alex. And I think at one point he did say Alexis, and I was like, ha! You did it!
I think it was clear he cared about you, though. But
yes.
For sure.
Oh, yeah, he definitely did. But yeah, just calling Alex, then it just became like, no, that's what I call you.
Yeah.
And even Alexis would continuously correct. And I think by the end just didn't, because maybe there was a moment where it was, oh, this is actually genuine now. It's not meant as a bad thing. It's a genuine just name that I am now called.
Sure.
But yeah, Grezit, yeah. Getting to interact with Grezit, but it was just because it was like, can't you see that Abby's really gone? He's like, no, he's not. Or no, she's not. And
Well, you were Grezet's conscience there too, or making him confront his conscience, because he was so divided.
oh,
Right?
oh.
Yeah, you just.
I didn't think about that.
I didn't either until right this moment, but it was all pre-planned. Obviously.
Yeah, it was.
Obviously.
Everything's always pre-planned.
Always pre-planned. It's not just nice synergy when it comes together
Yes.
accidentally. It never accidentally.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's just because it's also just fun to interact with anybody, just because of the actors that you get to work with. I love working with these people, so it's just hard to say who all the time, but yeah, everyone had their moments for sure.
You got to do 2 musicals as Alexis. Well, a full length and a Christmas mini musical.
I forget the mini one.
It was the ghosts of Rufus's previous chosen ones, but then you guys sang the opening and closing.
That's okay. That's why I was like, I kind of remember.
Christmas time in our small town song. Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
I'd have to go back and listen to those. Any of the songs, it's the same thing. Like I remember them and I have them memorized, and then by the end, I'm like, okay, it's gone. Bye.
I don't know if you remember your big solo in the full length musical.
I do remember that one. I do remember. Yes.
Oh, that was so heartbreaking because I remember talking to Kristin about let's make this as cheery and optimistic as possible.
And it's not going to go well.
Right to that scene where it's like, we're going to kill them all.
Yeah. Oh. Like,
poor Alexis.
Yeah.
Do you think his faith in people was misguided? And is it his undoing? Or do you think that his faith was justified, and even if it cost him his life, he did the right thing?
I think by the end it was justified. Yeah. I don't think he ever lost sight of it, because if he would have lost sight, then he would have never kept fighting. I think because he genuinely, Abby, is the one who is the perfect example of that. He never lost sight of just any of that. He always saw the good in her still, even as she's gone so far gone. He just said, no, this is not you.
But is there good in her still? Because she died.
Me personally, no, but Alexis was like, no, there's got to be something in her still.
Yeah. But not enough to stop her.
Oh, no, not enough to stop her, but that's what I think ended it on a beautiful note for him then, too.
I don't look at it this way, but I could see the argument of Alexis was not smart enough or not clever enough, or like didn't realize he was going to his death when he should have realized it. Like he was blinded by his faith that was misplaced. Especially
by being so hesitant towards even going into any of that so early on for the sake of his family.
Yeah.
But I think just because he was very driven and did not think that humankind was just completely gone.
Yeah.
There was still hope for him and hope to have that better world for his, like it was all about his family in the long run too, but it was also just about the betterment of just communities coming together too.
Yeah. He always wanted to protect his family. What do you think he wants for his daughter in her life?
I think he wants her to be able to grow up in a world that isn't afraid of her or doesn't see her as something less than just because she is part monster. And I think, it's reminiscent to a lot of things just that go on in the world today, just anybody that's not some white man pretty much. So it's a little bit, it's harrowing to think of. So yeah, he just wants, I think, the world to be, everyone to be treated equally and fairly, and wants that for his daughter too. I like Alexis. I'm always hoping, always hoping, but I don't know. No, I don't.
No,
I don't know.
Do you think he would want her to keep up the fight, or do you think he'd want her to hide and be safe?
Oh, I would think he deep down would want her to keep up the fight, but I also think he wants to protect her. So I think he doesn't want her to do what he did, because clearly it lost him his life. But then again, I don't.
But then they could be together in the after.
They could. They very well could, but I don't think that's also for the mothers. Yeah. That's not something she wants either.
Do you think Alexis stayed in the after where Daniel was long, or do you think he went ahead and crossed into his final resting?
I think if he didn't cross over, it would be to see his wife and daughter again somehow in some retrospect. But I think he completed what everything he could do. So I think he's gone through the after. I think he's moved on.
That was my thinking as well. I can confirm we will not see him in the after in the final season because my thinking was he completed his mission.
It makes sense as an actor, like
I
but
know.
also like for the story itself, it made.
We have
so
8
much
episodes.
sense.
We're not just going to follow Abby and Alexis through the after.
Yeah.
That would take so much screen time.
Way too much screen time.
And we just did a whole season where we followed Daniel. I mean, I said it was 16 episodes, and he didn't come back to like 3 episodes before the end.
Oh yeah, he was there the entirety of
like
it, pretty
15
much. Yeah.
episodes he was in the after.
Crazy.
So I don't want to just repeat that in condensed form for the final season. So I wouldn't want to go back there unless there was some different approach to it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, unfortunately for Alexis. If we were going to do 3 more volumes, we absolutely probably would have followed Alexis and Abby through the afterlife. Speaking of Abby, man, Wendy's so busy. I can't get her scheduled to do an Abby exit interview. I guess we'll have to wait a while.
She's always so busy.
No. She's so generous with her time, but she's busy. So the Abby exit interview will be coming, but it might be a little while.
Okay.
So for now, it's just Alexis.
All right, that's fine. Yeah, because I didn't know if you wanted if it was going to be us together or not, or if it was always going to be separate. Yeah,
I thought about it, but I thought for a number of reasons that we won't get into at the moment that it was better to do yours now, and we'll get to Abby's at some point.
Makes sense.
Soonish. So stay tuned, but. We also didn't have a big break between volumes 4 and 5, so this is airing in this very brief period before we jump right into volume 5.
Yeah.
I feel a little bit bad because we've had longer breaks, but in my mind, and this is it, maybe it's just an excuse, but I'm like, we're gonna end it. Let's just end it. Let's not stretch. I want to finish the story. I feel like we've built to where the end needs to go, and let's. I also want to get another couple of new segments into the mix, so let's get it off the board.
And you already have Volume 5 fully written.
I wish.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you did. I was like,
I have it half written.
But you still have it planned out to where you know what's going where, just not everything in between.
This is probably the first time I ever have sat down and I wrote a document with 1 paragraph per episode, and I know what each of those episodes... Really, before we performed the Volume 4 finale, I knew what each of the 8 episodes in Volume 5 were. I have made some adjustments as I've gone, but I've written 4 of the 8. And I'm pretty excited about it. I think it's... and they're going to be performed in 4 batches, so the 4th one does kind of cliffhanger it. Sorry, people, but it's 2 halves. But I'm very pleased with it's very tonally different. It's a very big shift for the segment. It's set years later. It's not like in the immediate aftermath of what happened.
I think that's smart to do. Yeah.
And there's big breaks between each episode. Like, it's not like, I think episode 1 set 3 years later, episode 2 set 3.5 years later, episode 3 set 4 years later.
Oh, yeah.
Not so that's 12 cumulative. I meant just from Alexis and Abby's deaths. 3 years after, 3.5 years after, 4 years after. So still like 6 months between episodes.
Yeah.
So yeah. Oof. But yeah, it's almost over. Is there something, as a fan of the segment, I am assuming, that you would like to see in the final volume, even though you're not there, like for the other characters?
I don't know. I know something I would like to see just because I feel like it's been something played out. Obviously, a big part of Daniel Kravitz, there's a love story, and of course, it's between Daniel and Abby. And
that's over.
That's over. But now, there's been hints ever since Stephanie Garcia was introduced. I would love to see something happen with them. Just because I think it just makes sense that at least there would be something that would occur.
We will definitely deal with the possibility of a romantic relationship with them without getting into whether it works or not. It's not something we're just going to ignore and forget, because you're right. It was purposely set up that there could be something there.
Yeah.
So we'll deal with it. There was a time in... we talked about you having the daughter and kid. There was a time where you became unavailable somewhat unexpectedly for a couple of months because you had conflicts with the show. And so we had to write Alexis out of a couple episodes. And that's where we landed upon giving him the daughter and the wife. That wasn't part of the original character.
Oh, no, because that was when I was planning on moving, I think, wasn't it?
I don't even remember what it was.
I think it was. It was when I was planning on moving.
Okay.
And because I think it was it was November of 2019. Okay. I do remember that because I'm pretty sure that was when... like Alexis got the phone call, I think.
The phone call, that was a different... I'm talking about back in season 2, where he disappeared for a couple episodes, and then he came back, and they were ready to.
Oh, because they were like, "Where's so?"
So
I don't remember what I was doing.
The episode you returned was in March 2018. So the episode you were absent for the attack. It was just one episode, Attack on the Homestead, where the monsters attacked the antique shop in February 2018.
Oh,
and you were going to be part of that battle, but you weren't there.
It's like, oh, and then it kind of adds to it because it's like, oh, he cowered out again.
Right.
Where was he? What was he doing?
But your absence gave us a legitimate a story idea.
Yeah.
Of where was he? Oh, he had a good reason. It wasn't just cowering out.
Yeah.
And at that point, they still thought you might have betrayed them and were on the side of the bad guys. And your absence was so suspicious, it certainly made them think.
And he didn't want them to know,
right?
Just like he had
and Josh died. So
Josh.
When you showed back up, they were mad.
Oh, Josh, I forgot about Josh.
Yeah, so
that was so long ago now.
Yeah.
Oh.
He was in Volume 1 briefly. He was mainly in Volume 2.
God, and that was 2018. Oh, that was a while ago.
So long ago.
Oh, so long ago.
Is there anything you regret with playing Alexis? Anything you wish you would have gotten a chance to do with him that you didn't get to?
I think interacting more with the monster community would have been
just
to show the impact that he also has too on just being someone who can speak for them if they can't speak for themselves. But also probably more interactions with his wife and daughter too.
Would that have been the spinoff? Alexis in Monsterville, he had his own segment.
I mean, that would be fun.
Wouldn't that have been cool?
It could be a short. It could be easily
I could still do it.
A mini series
because there was a lot of his life we didn't see.
Yeah, that could be a mini series or one episode before it ends. Yet you don't have it full. Well, no,
It's not part of the final 8.
Dang it!
Sorry,
that's all right.
We'd have to do it down the road. I'll never say never, but I'm not going to do it just to do it. We'd have to have a really good idea for it.
Oh yeah,
that made sense to bring him back. I don't want to get cheap with killing off characters.
Because like I said, I knew it just made sense with the story.
After doing the Daniel death and moving on without him, even though he stayed in the segment, I'm very hesitant to do something like that with another character, and it has to be a different approach and for a different reason.
Yeah, and death there has to be finality. Two characters.
You've seen part of the final season of Kravitz. You think audiences will be satisfied, or do you think they're going to be disappointed?
I think so far, they will be satisfied. Again, I don't know where it's going, but
you've only seen 2 episodes, right?
Yes.
As today would be the second. Yeah.
Is today the second? Yeah, I was today's the second. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because I wasn't at rehearsal, I didn't read that one yet. So I've
only seen 1.
So I've only seen 1. I'm excited to see it live.
You're gonna like this one.
Is it going to make me cry? I'm easy to cry, so. Oh, no. Oh, then I have an idea.
Is this month.
Oh, shoot, that's right. Oh, no. I'm not ready to cry today.
It's not that bad. It's not that bad.
Okay. Yeah.
I think we got more crying stuff coming up. We'll see. But
yeah. I mean, I love a good tearjerker, but.
No, I think this isn't more of a tearjerker. I think it's a interesting thing. I like it. You'll see. We'll have to see.
Yeah. Oh God, I didn't put 2 and 2 together. But no, I haven't. Yep. I haven't read it intentionally. Mm-hmm. I'm okay. Well, I'm gonna go over for sure what I know I need to do. But I'm if I'm not, I was I want to be able to watch it so I can react myself.
Yeah. Well, you'll have to let me know what you think. But
yeah.
So you've only seen 1 episode, but you liked the premiere apparently.
I did like the premiere. Yeah, I did. I was I was engaged. I was there's things that happened that I enjoyed and. And I'm waiting to see where it goes.
Well, you didn't see without characters. There's no Rufus. There's no Grezit.
No, there was not. So that's why I was there's so much more to see.
Yeah.
So yeah, but no, I was I obviously can't say anything. But
no, we got to keep Volume 5 under wraps.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts you want to give about Alexis or your time playing him?
Do you know I enjoyed. Like I said from the very beginning, I wasn't sure how I felt. I was just excited to do it, but then I was where's this going for him? And I never asked you too many questions, I think, as time went on. And it was only when we were preparing for him to die was when you had actually reached out to both Wendy and I and was by the way, this is what we're talking about. Yeah. You're going to die. And I was okay, like
That's not
makes
something
sense.
I want to surprise you with.
No, but then like I think it was like one of the few nights I went out afterwards, and you were like, well, we're thinking about something else maybe we might try to do, but we don't know. And then you reach back out again, and you're like, oh, you're for sure dying, which I liked. I was like, okay.
But we're also doing something else that I talked to you about possibly doing.
Yes,
So
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I enjoyed playing Alexis very, very much.
Well, thank you.
I liked his arc. I enjoyed just getting to deal with all the wonderful people, and I'm excited to see where everyone else goes.
Yeah, I loved your character. I loved writing for your character, and I'm very happy with where it went.
Yeah.
And you were not that far before the end. Like that segment's coming to an end anyway. You're missing out.
No, it's not like I'm in
Seasons
seasons of just stuff.
I got
Yeah.
to sit there for years watching it, going,
Just
"Yeah,
like-
I should have been in this."
I'm not here in this part of it with my arms crossed.
Thank you, Joe, and stay tuned for more Daniel Kravitz.
Yep. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
It's All Been Done Radio Hour, number 518, exit interview number 4, Alexis Augustus Armentrout. Check out our website at iabdpresents.com. We want to thank Boxland, our host performance space, and don't forget to support us at patreon.com/IABD. A mere $5 donation gets you access to past and upcoming raw audio to our monthly shows, as well as exclusive performances, bloopers, short stories, and more.
It's All Been Done presents.
Who's got the time?
All right, let's go do a show today.
Yes, let's go do a show.
A happier one.
I know, yeah, a much happier one.
Shane, turn off the microphone.